your big Hollywood sunglasses and light the torch, because it's cellar time. Welcome to the Crack Cellar. As the prophecy was once delayed by gainful employment, I'm Two-Spirit Penguin Daniel.
I'm a cast full of Nickels.
And today we have more hot Moon Knight news, Broadcaster Nickels. Did you know that your favorite Marvel superhero is going to join Moon Knight in the CW revival?
Join.
Oh, you haven't heard?
Wait a minute. You said join Moon Knight. You mean Moon Knight joins them?
Nah, dude. Fucking the Hulk. The Hulk is in this Moon Knight TV series. Basically,
Mark Ruffalo's Hulk?
Yep, Mark Ruffalo got caught in Budapest filming, and so he kind of just announced it on Instagram or some shit. So I fucking hate Mark Ruffalo. I'd hate his Hulk. I think he's the worst Hulk. He's no Lou Ferrigno, that's for damn sure. I don't even think... Who's the other guy who did it? The guy from Fight Club.
It's funny because he actually looks like Lou Ferrigno's like meek cousin or something like that. Like the nerdy, no, Mark Ruffalo.
He looks like his nerdy like cousin that gets beat up and put in a locker.
I honestly think that's why he got the job, because he kind of looks like Ruffalo, like a scrawny ass version. But God, it's so.
I
lost with the Hulk.
I like Edward Norton's way more too. Like, I really think he's the worst Hulk. And when I saw the news that he's going to be in this Moon Knight, it really was just like the stars aligning on the doom of this TV show for me. Like, all of the horsemen have arrived.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I swear I was just reading an article talking about rumors of Edward Norton's Hulk coming back.
That would be cool.
Yeah. I don't know. Moon Knight, I'm going to watch it. Let's put it this way. Moon Knight, to me, the leak of that costume is atrocious, for one. And just based on... I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say this is all pre-production, blah, 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 no special effect, blah, 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 all the random excuses you'll see on a chat board. But if we're really being critical here, and we're just going off what we got, and we're actually thinking to ourselves, that's supposed to be the costume, and that's supposed to be a close-up still frame from a scene that actually appears in the series, I'm not impressed. I'm not impressed in the slightest. It comes off as a CW original, and if you're doing that to my boy, then I'm gonna show up, but I'm gonna fucking pan it.
You're gonna hate watch it, just like I'm gonna hate watch the fucking Disney version of X-Men when it comes out.
Yeah, it's man, it sucks so bad to just see. There's so much with that character they could go off of. Unlike a lot, there's characters that have the same attributes as well, but nonetheless, 90% of comic book characters do not have the depth that Moon Knight has. And he has so much material that could be more grounded and based in reality and still have some fantasy tied in, but they ignored it all. And they decided to go with his most extreme costume, based from the 90s, when he was drawn as a fucking action hero steroid junkie with pouches on his belt, like trying to mimic Batman as much as possible, essentially. And you saw the results in that still frame. Like, that's Mark Spector, right? As Moon Knight. That's supposed to be what that character you saw is. There's two other personalities. There's Stephen Grant and Jake Lockley, I think. Right? I think I'm getting that right. And sometimes, I forget if it's Stephen Grant or if it's Mark Spector, that his personality, that apprises the role of Mr. Knight, which is a different take on the character. It's a different take on the character in a different period, way further in the future. It's called Marvel Now, I think, is when it first happened, which is, I think, the early 2000s, something around there. And he just has a pure white business suit. And he's so much more grounded. And you could pull that look off way easier and make it look good. But no, they decided to go with action 90s look and not only go that direction, but ruin it. They didn't just they weren't just like, all right, well, let's just take that costume and try to make it happen. No, they took the concept of that, like the color scheme and stuff like that, and they totally butchered the mask. They butchered the chest. Like the chest looks weird. Did you look at that picture?
Yeah, it. You know what it reminded me of, honestly? Remember the original Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, like the good one with Carlin and Princess Leia and
Yeah.
You remember when they were making the fake movie?
Yeah, at the end.
The fake movie had like this weird little puffy armor. That's what it reminded me of. Is that Jay and Silent Bob armor set?
It's crazy to think too. It's just it's preposterous. Preposterous. I'm just getting worked up on my boy Moon Knight. I don't want to think about it anymore.
And speaking of preposterous, Broadcaster Nickels, word on the street is that my boy Bishop might be played by Method Man.
That's not going to happen.
It's going to happen, Broadcaster Nickels.
You know what? Black lives matter, but black lives don't matter, according to the executives. All right.
I would fucking love to have Method Man. I'm just put it out there. Bishop's one of my favorite characters in X-Men. He's not my favorite. Gambit is by far, but Bishop's in my top 5, up there with Cable and Sinister and a few others. But man, I would love to see Method Man, because you know what it'd mean. It'd mean Red Man would get in there somehow. Like, I don't know who he'd play, but you know that if Method Man's in the movie, Red Man's going to show up somehow.
I don't know what he would play.
Well, yeah, there aren't a lot of black characters in X-Men. Honestly, it's not a really.
Well, there's not a lot of like. Well, yeah, you're bringing up a good
It's not diverse.
Interesting is it? Topic. It's like they don't want to make new black characters.
Yes. I'd love it if Red Man just showed up as Magneto. Fuck it. Just make him Magneto. Fucking Red Man floating in the air. Bringing all the metal. I'm down.
God.
I mean, it's going to be bad no matter what. At least if we got Method Man and Red Man in there, it's going to be fucking hilariously bad.
I feel like Red Man maybe could play Nightcrawler.
I don't know. That's kind of, I always look at that as sort of like a Oswald Cobblepot type character. Not really.
But isn't Red Man small? He's kind
of diminutive, but like
thin,
he's,
you know?
Yeah, but I mean, he's not as small as fucking like Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart's a midget. Red Man is, like,
come on,
probably at least 6 inches taller than Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart doesn't apply to the normal scale. He's what they call an outlier.
Dude, Kevin Hart is an outlier. Have you ever seen like the titles of his specials, like when you're on a streaming service and you just happen to come across one? They are like the most generic, weird, corny titles for a special. Like one of them is just called "What Now?" You're just like,
oh,
okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's so big, dude. He knows it will sell.
They're all that, like, they're all so bad. I'm just, every time I see one, I mean,
the more money you make, the less you give a fuck, right? So like when someone's like, "Hey, you want to make another million, blah 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 dollars," you know, they're like, "Yeah, I do," but you know, like that feeling increases the more money you make. And then you get What Now? The hit title to my new Netflix special.
Yeah, you know, also like another one that's bad, but for a slightly different reason. It's called "Laugh at My Pain." That's the title, and like the title shows him with like a sad look on his face, like he's about to cry. And I'm just sitting here like,
these are specials.
Yeah, these are his specials. Like they all have these ridiculous names, and "Laugh at My Pain." I'm just like, bro, your pain, you're like the richest fucking black man in the fucking United States of America. You fucking you bring LeBron James over to your house. Like,
is he really that rich?
Dude, he is filthy
rich,
dude.
From comedy?
I don't know. He's not even that funny, man.
He's not.
I don't
really not.
He sells out arenas though. He fucking, like, all of his specials just are like,
I mean, he
hits,
was
I guess.
funny. Don't get me wrong, that guy was funny.
Dude, I'm a
But
fan of
for
black
the last
comedians.
10 years? Like,
Yeah,
is he relevant? It's the last decade?
He has been the whole time. I love black stand-up comedians. They're like, some of them are my favorite, like Dave Chappelle, fucking Chris Rock, fucking Pryor, fucking I that guy.
That guy. Would you say Cracker from the grave? He'll be like, don't you?
Yeah, like the Wayans brothers are like some of my favorite comedians of all time, and I mean like all of them, but specifically Damon. But like I love all of them. Like I'm actually pro black comedians, big time.
I'm pro black comedians, guys. Come on, believe me, guys. Believe me.
I think that they're actually naturally funnier than white people. Maybe that's racist, but I actually think that.
What else do you think they're naturally good at?
all right.
Off the top of your head.
Let's just backpedal a little bit here. Anyway, the point of what I'm trying to say is I'm not like a hater. Like I just think that Kevin Hart is one of the least funny stand-ups I've ever seen in my life.
He's an anomaly. I bet you if you did a random blind study on the street and you were just like, why is Kevin Hart famous? Right off the bat, I bet you no one would come up with an answer. To be like, what was he in? Jumanji. Yeah, but that was recent. What made him famous? I mean, come on, selling out arenas. Dave Chappelle doesn't even do that, does he? I don't hear about Dave Chappelle. He does. Okay,
he does. Yeah, for sure.
When he comes out of the fucking Dave Chappelle's like fucking the Daniel Day-Lewis of the comedy scene now.
He
just comes out of nowhere. He's like, I'll do 3 runs with Joe Rogan and then I'm out. Peace.
Oh man. Well,
Dr. Shoemaking.
Well, Broadcaster Nickels. Speaking of shoes, Spider-Man doesn't wear any, but he does wear Benedict Cumberbatch in a new movie called Spider-Man No Way Home. Broadcaster Nickels, are you ready to get to our preview of said movie title project?
Pumped. I'm ready. They say it's the best Spider-Man, potentially the best Spider-Man ever created, and it's not even out yet.
What's that? You want more Crack Cellar? This is good. Join your lords on Twitter at The Crack Cellar and Facebook.com/The Crack Cellar.
Hey, you over there. Are you a straight-up Chad or a strong woman? Well, you can find us on Apple Podcasts and your favorite podcasting app. Or, if you're a straight-up beta cuck, find us on YouTube with the rest of the Cloud Chasers. And we're back with our preview of Spider-Man No Way Home. Broadcaster Nickels. Jon Favreau is in the trailer. What do you think about that? Does it bring you memories of Mandalorian to your fertile mind?
It does. It reminds me that I predicted Mandalorian was going to be canceled almost a half a year ago now, I think. And now the rumors are starting to circulate. Soon I will be proven right, and my honor will be restored. I will become the true Mandalore. Anyways,
did you see Jon Favreau like heaping praise on Kathleen Kennedy? And now like rumors they're going to re-sign her as president when like before the rumor was that Favreau was going to take over. Seems a little odd.
Yeah, well, Empire always wins.
Indeed. But speaking of the Empire winning, Sam Raimi's villains are back. I was shocked by that.
Some of them.
I mean, we got Green Goblin and we got fucking
we don't know
Octopus,
who Green Goblin is. Yeah, we don't know if it's Sam Raimi's Green Goblin. It could be fucking. Ooh. It could be what's his fuck from Andrew Garfield.
Oh, because
we know Tobey Maguire. Okay, so this is my theory, right?
Well, we know we got Dr. Octopus from the
right, but this is where I'm leading to. So Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are coming back, right? Tom Holland's going to be in there, so I'm guessing they're going to have a delicate mix of all 3 of their own villains to make the Sinister Six happen, right? So you're going to have Vulture, Mysterio, or I think those are the only two villains that have showed up for Tom Holland's Spider-Man so far. So maybe a third villain shows up for Tom Holland's universe, like maybe the Lizard, or what's his name, Reptile or something. I forget his name, but the Doctor that turns into Lizard Man, essentially, he died in, I think, Sam Raimi's or Andrew Garfield or the other Spider-Man universe. I forget which one he was in and died in, but maybe he'd come back in Tom Holland, so that makes the third villain and a possible present villain from his universe show up. And then you got Doc Ock show up from Tobey Maguire's universe, and you're probably going to have a villain show up from Andrew Garfield's universe as well. So, and just based on the evidence and the scenes we've dissected, we're thinking Sandman and Doc Ock are both from Tobey Maguire's universe, and Andrew Garfield is getting Electro, Jamie Foxx, which we know is in the movie. I'm pretty sure that's official now, and possibly, and I can't imagine it would be this one because he wasn't that fucking.
Don't say Venom. If you say Venom,
no, and he wasn't. And a lot of people criticize his role, and no one said he's in this movie, which is what's his name is Rhino. That fat angry guy, Rudy. I always want to say Rudy Giuliani, but his name is close to it.
I'd love for Rudy Giuliani to come play a villain in a Spider-Man movie.
But you know who I'm talking about, nonetheless.
Yeah, so, I do.
And I doubt he's going to show up. So that really leaves that fucking mutated-looking Green Goblin from Andrew Garfield's universe to show up.
I'm hoping that is not the case because I want some Willem Dafoe back in my life. The Lighthouse got me a little too primed.
I would settle with fucking what's his name? His son. I forget, James Franco. Remember James Franco? I'd settle for James, bro.
Fucking James Franco. It's just as long as
we don't get what's his fucking name.
As long as we don't get Topher Grace's Venom, I'll be okay. I swear to God, if I see Topher Grace in this movie, I'm just going to turn it off.
Yeah, that would be a tragedy and definitely 100% not going to happen because Venom is an established IP on the Sony universe, and there's already an official bridge the gap method, quote unquote, happening here soon in some fashion. So I doubt they would just bring in fucking Topher Grace's Venom to spit on Sony.
Yeah,
that would be epic, though. Actually, wait a minute, that's Sony IP, so that'd be Sony's green light. So. Yep. Oh God!
I know.
Oh God!
There's a lot of cool possibilities with this movie, and there's some dark possibilities. So it feels like we're opening the fucking cube from Hellraiser right now, but we'll see.
I truly think the Green Goblin we're getting is not any of the Green Goblins we want.
Yeah, that would be sad. But I do like how the premise of this movie is basically Peter Parker's annoying prattle is what causes this entire fucking spell to get fucked up in the first place, which is a real Peter Parker move. Like, if you ever read Spider-Man comic books, he was really, I mean, and I'm talking like 80s, so really old Spider-Man comics. He was really portrayed as like this guy that just talks too much and annoys people to death. Like that annoying kid that you just want to shut up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And it's funny that it seems like that was an homage. Like the whole premise is just like he just wouldn't shut the fuck up, and he's fucked up Doctor Strange and shit.
I'm interested to see that too because they show it in the trailer just right off the bat. This is what causes it, or that's what they want you to think causes it. Because at the same time, long before this trailer ever came out, they said the ending of WandaVision is the cause of the multiverse splitting up. And that's why Doctor Strange is going to have the multiverse of madness, and Scarlet Witch is going to be in it. So it's like maybe there's, and then the end of Loki happened too. So it's like, are all these events happening at the same time? And it's just a coincidence. Spider-Man was just bullshitting with Strange in that portal, and then everything happened at once. I don't. Well, I think that's what they're going to go with, to be honest.
It's possible, but I read a story that after the news of that came out, like the producers of the producers of See, that's the thing. I don't know if it's the Spider-Man movie or if it's the new Doctor Strange movie that's also coming out soon, but I know one of them got rewritten because they didn't want it to be that Benedict Cumberbatch is the reason for everything that happens in WandaVision, and it like downplays women or some shit. Like, it was real corny SJW bullshit that I was reading. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's possible that what you just described got changed.
Well, that would just spell doom, like I already know the MCU is headed towards. So
yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. Did you like Homecoming? Was that what would you rate that on a scale of 1 to 10?
I mean, it was fun.
It was fun.
I mean,
yeah, I'd give it a
like,
6.
I mean,
I'd probably give it a 6.
I'm not gonna bag on. I think Tom Holland's a good actor. Fucking what's his name? Jake Gyllenhaal, incredible actor. Fucking his Mysterio nailed it. Fucking, they had Jon Favreau in it. Dude, they had all the bells and whistles. I mean, it was. But as far as a continuum of this universe that was started with RDJ and fucking Chris Evans and Scarlett Johansson and Mark Ruffalo, you know, like
I felt the pain in your voice.
I mean, it's just like I'm not buying it. No, I feel like a lot of people aren't buying it, to be honest. I would say I'm in the majority of people not buying it.
Oh, for sure. The first Marvel Spider-Man movie, Homecoming, it felt like a real bunt to me. Like, it was very safe. It didn't push any boundaries whatsoever. Like, the coolest thing about the movie is just that fucking Batman was in it as the villain. Like, that was the only thing that really stuck with me that I liked. Other than that, it just felt kind of like a snooze fest. And this new one, even if it's not good, it feels like they're taking a power swing at least this time. They're not bunting. They're trying to hit a home run. They might miss badly, but they're trying. Do you get that impression too?
Yeah, for sure. And I would go even further to say that bunt is a forced bunt because it's a Sony and Disney Marvel collaboration.
Yeah.
This is something I don't think a lot of people realize, that this awesome start of the MCU was a solid consolidated effort from Disney to build something very, very well. Now, their story is kind of at the end of their ropes, and they're trying to start the new phases, trying to get everyone excited for the new things. But these new things aren't theirs. They're Sony's and, well, used to be Fox's, but now acquired. But, you know, there's a lot of baggage with that acquisition, and people don't realize that there's cool down periods and, you know, all these types of things that make what people want not come sooner.
Yeah.
And so now you get things like the new Spider-Man, where you're like, why is Venom getting his own movie? And why is Carnage, one of the biggest baddies in the MCU, like playing second fiddle on the movie poster to some no-name character to the left of him, you know? Like, it's just, they're really bad signs. And it just tells me that there's no way that these movies going forward can be as good, because there's too many cooks in the kitchen now. There's too many interests now. There's not a prime focus anymore. Now there's Sony's.
Feels complete.
Well, I mean, it's almost the opposite of that, though, right? Because now there's two companies vying for what they want, but it's in the same product, you know? Like, they're doing power moves with each other. Like, well, I have Spider-Man and you need him for these new phases. He's like a big thing for you guys. And it's like, well, Marvel's like, well, we might not need him as much, you know, because we got Fox now and we're going to roll out the Fantastic Four and Doctor Doom and all these other cool things that we couldn't before. But that takes 4 or 5 fucking years, you know? So it's like, I don't know. That's how I see it.
Last question before we get to our review of the greatest anime of all time, Broadcaster Nickels. Is this the last Tom Holland Spider-Man movie?
Oof. Could be, depending on the sales numbers.
You think so? You think it's just going to be a question of how well it does?
I think it's going to do phenomenal for movie standards, because MCU movies always do that well. But as far as like well enough to split the profit between two huge companies and be like, yeah, let's do it again type of thing. I don't know. There's already been turmoil between them. So there's a good chance it could be his last movie if this fucking thing doesn't do buco bucks. I mean, they're bringing in the heavy hitters, dude. You got what's his name playing Doc Ock. You got 3 different Spider-Mans. You got potentially James. You know that's why they didn't show Goblin. By the way, they're dangling those carrots. They're like, is it James? Is it Defoe? Who knows?
We will see very soon. I'm actually pretty excited for this movie. Even though I know it's possible it'll be a train wreck, but just the Sam Raimi aspects are going to be really, cool to see.
Yeah, that's why the OGs are showing up.
Oh yeah. Well, broadcaster.
Where's Toby?
Well, broadcaster Nickels. Speaking of, we have an anime to get to that has traveled across time and space. It's something that can never end, even though it's said it's going to end about 4 times now, but then it doesn't end, and this is supposed to be the end again, but god damn it, I'll bet you in 5 years that motherfucker's like, you know what? We're making season 2 of Evangelion. Fuck it.
I don't even know where they could go from it.
Are you ready, broadcaster Nickels, to get to our review of Evangelion 3.0 plus 101 Thrice Upon a Time?
Anime makes me nervous, man.
And we're back with our review of Hideaki Anno's Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.01 Thrice Upon a Time. And the creator of this movie describes it as the following. Shinji Ikari is still adrift after losing his will to live, but the place he arrives at teaches him what it means to hope. Finally, the Instrumentality Project is set in motion, and he will make one last grueling stand to prevent the final impact. Broadcaster Nickels, we finally did it. We finally reviewed an anime that is not made in Abyss. Let's give ourselves a round of applause.
Oh my god.
Can you imagine people like looking at our catalog and be like, oh, they review animes? Let me see what animes they've reviewed in like 50 episodes. They're like, wait, they've only done 2 and they're both made in Abyss. Please don't judge us. But, it was fucking...
I just want you to know that neither of those were my official suggestions. Those came.
No, they were Hideo Kojima's suggestions, okay? Take it up with him on Twitter.
The surrogate actor was Two-Spirit Penguin.
That was like the last evil I got from Twitter before I quit Made in Abyss. It was like the death kiss.
God, is it really the only 2 animes?
It is, but what do you think, man? What do you think about this 3.0 plus 1.01 extravaganza? Generally speaking,
of all, they need to fucking. I'm guessing the title to this is like some over the head thing to most Americans, and it probably has like some hardcore fan value in it somewhere. I'm not sure because it just makes no sense to me. It's like, is that like a super inside joke that only the people that worked on it would understand? I just don't. But second thing is every single one of all 4 episodes they give me anxiety when I watch them. I swear
they're
to God.
supposed to, I think.
Evangelion has this, the OVAs. It's been so long since I watched the original series. I can't really remember if it was like that, but these OVAs,
it was worse.
Man, no doubt, probably thinking about it, but they just, my heart starts pumping, dude. I start like holding my breath in certain situations. I don't usually do that with like almost any anime, but it's just so action packed and fucking. I don't know. I don't really know how to describe it because it's not like it's doing stuff that's so intense in a unique way that it warrants my anxiety. It's just for some reason the director, the way the music and everything. It's just everything's so fast. There's no like lag or calm downs. Everything. It's just a slow rise of the tide until the end of the movie. Well,
that is one
difference.
difference.
It goes off a cliff at the end, but
yeah, the OVAs don't have any. They don't have a brake pedal because they're blasting through 26 episodes of anime. Like the first OVA, I think, covered like 16 episodes of anime. And then the second OVA covered like 10 and then like a little extra and changed the entire timeline of Evangelion. So like everything that happened basically from the middle of OVA 2 to the beginning is all basically what happened in the anime. But then when the whole failed third or the failed fourth impact or whatever the fuck they call that, when his moon brother comes down and stops him from becoming an angel and saving Rei, everything changes after that. Like it has nothing in common with the anime anymore after that.
Really?
So, yeah. It's
I'm
totally different.
I'm guessing the manga, that the original anime departed from the original manga at that point, and this is just because usually that's what OVAs are. Is they're just more of a more source material accurate version.
Perhaps. I've never read the manga, so I could not answer that question.
I'd have to imagine they can't come. There's no way they just came up with that shit to attach to Evangelion. I can't imagine that playing out that good.
So you're a critic of CG in anime. Like you really talked a lot of shit about the new Berserk anime because of the CG in it, and I like Berserk is one of your favorite animes and my favorite animes of all time. So for you to talk that amount of shit means you really have a problem with CG. This OVA series, has a lot of CG in it. So I'm curious what you think about that CG.
I think it's pretty tasteful, and it's probably some of the best CGI I've seen in an anime period. But it's not really fair because that's like big Hollywood budget over in Japan. So you can't really compare that to most other animes, I would say.
Yeah.
Like maybe the next thing that gets close to that type of budget is like a Dragon Ball movie over there. So it's hard to really hold it in comparison like that.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that Brawly movie that they made. That was some seriously good animation.
CGI as well, like the green Brawly blasts and stuff going through the mountains, and all that CGI was really well. And I think the industry is slowly starting to realize, what CGI is best used for in anime period, because Berserk, the latest iteration of Berserk, I should say, is one of those prime examples of just oversaturation. That not only was given to somebody that's never done CGI, which is just a poor fucking idea for such a extremely well-respected IP like Berserk. So that was already setting up disaster. And they had previous OVAs that looked amazing, so that didn't help them out either. And then you can use examples like Evangelion where the CGI was just barely used, only used in the background and for certain special effects. Like a good example is at the very end of the fourth episode when they're cutting through Ground Zero on Earth, the containment zone or whatever you want to call it, and all those I forget the name of them, just those like purple like starfish things are just like polluting the air like air particles, and they're just flying in front of the ship's face. Those are all rendered in 3D, and they're really well done.
I didn't even notice that. I didn't even notice those were CG.
Yeah, dude. And they not only that, but they, in order to like kind of give you the perspective of them going through like this weird like plane. I don't even know really how to describe it because it's so weird. But that was also CGI, like the way they cut off the camera to make it look more linear. That was all CGI effects. So in the ship itself, when it was turning and doing the evasive maneuvers with CGI, it was done tastefully. Like I would say, maybe not even 30% of the anime was CGI. Almost 30. I think it got probably pretty close, but it's really well done. Whereas comparison Berserk probably was like 98%.
It was not. It was like 60%, man. I'm telling you.
No way.
It wasn't as bad. I'll tell you what wasn't CG. The fucking scene where he got the armor Oh my god, that scene
I
will
didn't.
burn into my brain forever. That was so badass.
I won't even watch it. Like I didn't even get that far. I quit after episode 1. I was like, "Fuck this."
Yeah, well, you've already read the source material on that, but I haven't, and thank God I watched it because whatever part of the manga that new anime is from is one of the better pieces of anime I've watched in the last 10 years. Like story-wise, plot-wise, oh my god, it was good.
Classic story, man. I think it's so funny. You saw that in that story probably debuted in the manga and
When I was in college 20 years ago.
yeah, dude. Like it was a long
I
time
don't
ago.
doubt
Man.
it.
It was over a decade. I'm pretty sure. That's for sure.
Well, I'm glad you brought Berserk up because I was thinking after I finished watching this final OVA of Evangelion, thinking, you know what, this is probably the best series of OVAs I've ever watched. And then I really started to think about it. I was like, well, wait a second. The Berserk OVAs for the remake of the Golden Era is actually probably the best set of OVAs I've ever watched.
Those are up there for sure.
So, but I haven't watched those in like 6 years. I watched them when they first came out, so however long ago that was. Are they as good as I remember? Where do you place like these two on a pedestal? Like which one's first and second when it comes to your favorite OVA series? Or is Evangelion even second? Would it be? Is there something you put higher other than the Berserk OVAs?
I think Hellsing Ultimate definitely deserves to be considered.
That's what I was considering too, but I never finished that, so I couldn't really.
Wow, really?
I got through 3 of them, and then how many more were there? Like 2 more that I didn't watch.
I can't remember. If you're talking about like by disc volume, I'm not sure, but by
I'm definitely
episode,
gonna watch those again. I'm gonna get back to that. It's actually really been bugging me. Whenever I think about it, I'm just like, fuck, I can't believe I haven't watched those.
Yeah, that's great shit. But anyways, I don't know, man. I probably put Evangelion's OVAs above the Berserk OVAs.
Really?
Just because. Okay.
I respect that.
Even though the Berserk OVAs are really good and there's like you can't really criticize anything. The one criticizing thing is that those OVAs were like the 4th iteration of doing that story again, and it's just like fuck. I'm not really gonna give that over Evangelion, which is like those OVAs are a masterpiece, even though it took 6 years or whatever.
6? No. The first episode of these OVAs came out in 2007. Broadcaster Nickels.
Yeah,
14 years.
Yeah, 14 years. So we have other criticisms for those as well, but nonetheless, Evangelion's 4-episode arc is only been done since the original anime, and I just think what the modernization was just better. I don't know. Maybe it was just because it's the only time we've ever seen it, and with Berserk it was kind of beating a dead horse. Yeah. So I guess that's pretty much what I'm just trying to say. It just wasn't as exciting as Evangelion, so I give it to Evangelion.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I get what you're saying. From your standpoint of talking about it as like, oh, this is the 5th version of this I've seen, but this is only the first version of well, technically second version if for the first 2 or the first 1.5, and then like the back 2 plus half of the second is basically new. So I get what you're saying.
The OVAs for Evangelion are their own thing, whereas the OVAs for Berserk are just another copy.
It's just it's an alternate timeline. Like it takes the premise and the beginning of Evangelion, and then it just does a total twist on what happens at that halfway point. Which, I mean, a lot of people didn't like it. I don't know if you ever followed the reception of episode 3, but people hated episode 3. Like there was a huge rebellion, and that's sort of why I think why 4 took so long to come out, and also why no one really cared that 4 wasn't coming out. Because I don't know if you follow anime circles, but people were kind of memeing it like Duke Nukem Forever.
That doesn't surprise me. It really makes me wonder how it had so much money behind it still. if it was such a failure. Maybe they had a contract for all 4 episodes.
Well, I don't know if it was a failure financially. It was a failure critically with the audience. Like, the audience didn't respond well to the 3rd episode. And I get why, because I didn't like the 3rd episode very much either. I liked it, but way too much emphasis on the ships, way too much like, oh, we're going to start off like with this weird time skip, just throws everything out of loop. And you're just like, well, wait a second. The fucking 4th impact was about to happen. It was the most epic moment in anime history. And then you start the 3rd episode with this weird, like, fucking ship side story crap that just was like, man.
Yeah.
It's not what I wanted.
The way episode 2 ends, and then it kind of just goes, well, no, wait a minute. The way episode 3 ends halfway, and then they do the skip, right? Skip happens like 3/4 of the way through episode 3?
No. The skip happens at the beginning of episode 3.
At the beginning of episode 3?
Yeah,
Okay.
at the very beginning, like, he wakes up and he's just like, oh, hey guys, nice to see you today. And they're all like they're all throwing shade at him. And he's like, what's going on, guys? And then eventually he finds out it's been like 15 years or whatever.
Yeah, pretty much if they just didn't do the alternate or like whatever, maybe the original manga adaptation and just stuck with what people knew from the original anime, it probably only would have been 3 episodes.
It would have been, yeah. Most likely.
Oh.
But
yeah, I could see why hardcore original fans probably be mad.
Yeah.
Especially if it's not based on anything. That's why my brain's really going now. I'm wondering if it's what the OVA ultimately ended with is original itself.
It
or
is.
If
It's totally original. It's a total alternate timeline to his original ending, is what he describes it as. And I mean, essentially it is. Some key things happen differently, and then everything after that happens totally differently for the most part.
Yeah, well, a lot less rape.
A lot less rape. So let's talk about specifically episode 4. First
and
half,
the lack of rape.
the lack of rape. You know, there were a lot of opportunities for Shinji to rape Rei in that slice of life story.
We talk about
we got.
What about Ken's creepy ass, dude? Just having that girl alone in his shack for like days on, and only wearing a coat with no t-shirt on, playing a fucking tiny Game Boy. If some other adult came by and just saw that, I mean, if I came by and saw it, I don't know. I've been like, you banging this little girl, Ken?
Yeah. There's. It's funny, you know. We're talking about, we finally got away from Made in Abyss, but you know what? Evangelion sort of has a similar reputation, so maybe further we run away, the closer we get.
Or maybe it's an indictment on the anime scene.
It is sort of an
your
anime
waifu
thing.
Pillows and your fucking weird incestual shit.
Inappropriate
Totally
brother
normal
sister
to have
relationships
kids in a bathhouse in a scene. Why not? Like,
yeah, I know. It's funny the inappropriate brother sister relationships you just see routinely in anime. I'm watching One Piece right now, and I have been for like my entire adult life, but I'm still watching One Piece. And we're at this part where this new, you know, sort of pirate elite squad under Kaido is like sort of in the limelight as they're about to fight, you know, the good guys or whatever. And there are these two characters, a brother and a sister. And it's like it always is in these fucking animes. It's like, the sister is just like vaguely sexually interested in the brother, and the brother is like vaguely annoyed by the sister's sexual interest. And it's like this weird thing that I've seen that happen in, I think, 25 different animes. It just makes me wonder about Japanese culture. Is there something going on over there between brothers and
they're
sisters?
preferred, dude. They're nasty, bro. They get down.
They get down.
Dude, I'm telling you, dude. They got creep hotels, and it's like a big business. People just go and they're like, "I'll pay $50 to lay in the bed and be my little spoon, be my big spoon." I don't know. I don't care. Sometimes I like to be the little spoon.
So, overall, I liked episode 4. I just thought that the first third, maybe half, but I'll be generous and say third of the movie was way too slow and was very sort of masturbatory for the author. Like, it was just him sort of making like a little fucking slice of life mini anime within his final chapter, and it just felt awkward because you looked at this little town and you're like, well, this town's going to be erased soon, and all the people here are going to be dead soon, and none of this really matters.
So true.
But we're gonna sit here.
There's no way these people are gonna survive. You're seeing them playing rice patties. You're like, what?
Yeah, dude, the rice patty scene was particularly egregious. I remember watching that, just be like, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Frame for frame for plot development per cost, it doesn't add up. You're just like, what the fuck are they spending money on right now?
Yeah. But the second half obviously was really good. I think we both agree on that, right?
It's what they should have led with.
Yeah.
Like, remember the intro where they had the credits playing for a little bit and they were walking to the town? Mm-hmm. I think the whole 45-minute town part should have been the intro section. Yeah, dude. Like, just a quick cap of everything that's going on in that little 45-minute segment they had thought of. But squeeze, compress that bitch down to maybe 3 minutes, okay? Mm-hmm. And just lead with Wunder breaking into the containment zone. All right, because that's when it gets hot.
Yeah, I really thought he was trying to do a Kurosaki anime and like do like a Princess Mononosuke type thing. During the first half, like during the rice patty scene especially, I'm just like, oh fuck, oh no. Are we gonna get a fucking bathhouse scene here soon? But then when Rei basically blew up in front of Shinji at the end of the Slice of Life arc, I realized it was game on, and that was just like an intermission. It just went too long. Like you said, it should have just been like the intro, not like the first.
Most definitely, dude. It's 45 minutes of Shinji being an emo.
I know, oh,
just
God,
like a little emo kid.
And that's another thing I didn't like is the way they resolved that emo part, because I thought like he actually had like a serious mental condition, like Cloud from FF7. Like I was really getting those type of vibes. But then like when it was just like, well, you know what? I guess everything's okay, so I'll just act normal. I was like, really, kid? Really? Yeah. They didn't take you to the Temple of the Ancients to cure you. You just like decided to...
Yeah, it's super dumb too, especially because like with the revelation, which isn't really a revelation because we all know they're angels, but the fact that that was that angel copy's purpose was to reawaken Shinji. And you know, something that also that I didn't really particularly like was how the cassette played out. You know, like the cassette tape was supposed to be like this key to him understanding his dad's ultimate plan and confronting him with confidence and shit like that, because Rei died and gave him the cassette tape or whatever it was. It was a player of some kind in the future. But I just thought that was dumb.
Yeah, this is definitely not a perfect OVA. I think the second OVA is as close to perfection as you can get, and the third one is as far from perfection as you can get, and I think the fourth one really just falls kind of in between the two.
Episode 2 is where Mary gets contaminated, right?
Episode 2 is basically the conclusion of the angel arc, where they're fighting all the angels, and you see like the last 4 or 5 angels, and then eventually Asuka becomes the final angel, and then Shinji has to kill her, and then he has to also save Rei, and that's when he becomes an angel trying to save Rei.
Well, yeah, he goes into the angel mode, or he doesn't become an angel though.
He almost does.
Yeah.
So if you pay attention at the end of the second one, like a portal, and this whole thing, I really love this scene so much. Like when I think of just like the greatest anime scenes of all time, this pops to my head immediately. The sky tears open, kind of like Bleach style, and you see like these angels kind of just like reaching down towards him, and like he's like kind of fading up into the portal as he's like trying to save Rei. And if he was not intervened by his moon brother, who we see a lot of in episode 3. And by the way, that's why a lot of people hated episode 3, is because of like the pseudo gay relationship between Shinji and his moon brother. If his moon brother did not intervene, he would have turned into an angel and the fourth impact would have happened. That is what we are supposed to believe. That is
right. And also, isn't it pretty much to assume that was just another version of Shinji, of one of his child's angel, or whatever he's based on, one of the 3 children? Right?
Well, okay. The clone thing is weird.
Because he's unique in that fact. None of the other
Shinji
kids.
Clone? Because I never saw proof that he was a clone. We saw proof that Asuka's a clone, that Rei's a clone.
Well, Rei's definitely a fucking clone.
We never saw proof that Shinji's a clone ever in this OVA series. So I'm not 100% sure.
I honestly thought that was like supposed to be part of the big revelation at the end. There was like the 3 kids were developed by Seal for the big the big plan. Like those 3 kids were like angels taken and brought into human form, and then multiple iterations of them so they could be pilots for the Evas. Eva 1 pilot, Eva 2 pilot, and Eva 3 pilot.
Right. I get that, but
you might be right. Maybe it was over my head. Maybe he was just unique, and he was just what's his name's son.
Yeah.
What's his name? Gahorn? I always
Gendo. Yeah. See, he's definitely one of the 3, and Rei's definitely a clone. Like they make that very clear.
Yeah,
but they really purposely don't make it clear if Shinji is. And there's a few things that make me think he isn't.
Well, he had like a infinite angel compatibility with the suit at the end with Eva 1. I thought that's how I took the scene. I was like, oh, he's like the prime fucking angel.
Well, that actually convinced me he wasn't a clone.
Oh.
So I don't know. It could go either way. This is one of those sort of in-depth kind of questions that we'd actually have to ask Mr. Anno himself, I think, to get a straight answer.
Or someone that just understands Evangelion way more than we do.
Maybe. It's possible. But yeah, like, I don't know, like, this is weird because the clone thing, like, we've really kind of opened a can of worms here. So I'm just going to go into, like, my real question when it comes to all this stuff is Rei Shinji's sister or a clone of his mom? Go.
It could be both.
I know, right?
Because to be honest, they don't really ever touch on like how the cloning ever came about or like what exactly it is that's doing it. It's just a revelation in the anime that she's just a clone and she's been cloned many times. You know, and you start to understand which version it is. That's the only facts you know about it. And then for Asuka, the only time you figure out she's an angel is when she gets contaminated, and you have Shinji has to kill her, and then in episode 3 where she comes back with the eye patch, and then in episode 4 she pulls out the fucking whatever it is, the inhibitor,
which is probably the best scene in the entire 4th OVA. Do you agree with that?
Definitely,
that
definitely
was so
dope.
Sick.
Super dope. But then she goes full angel, and then in fact her own angel form like mocks her and is just like, nah, dude, like just give up. This fight's over. We're out of here. So I was like, that was the moment when I was just like, oh, this is kind of like some Metal Gear Solid, like let's Taylor B or whatever the fuck that agency was called in Metal Gear Solid, which was like the 3 clones. That's kind of like how I took it. I was like, okay, they're all kind of different in their own way. Like Rey is the one that gets cloned the most and is the most compatible, like baseline compatible with all the suits. So she's more of a universal tool. And then there's Asuka, who's just the most powerful right off the bat. She just has the most raw power. And then there's Shinji, who's, the typical hero archetype that's just like needs to be awakened, and then when he awakens, he's like, omniform, like no one can beat him.
I think they shook up that formula a little bit, though, by making Shinji just like an unsufferable bitch, which is not typical of hero characters.
He was, I'm currently watching the original Mobile Suit over again right now, and let me tell you, Amuro Ray's an insufferable son of a bitch, but Shinji takes the cake in this last episode.
Yeah, for sure. I
just want to point out real quick on a side note, in the first episode of Mobile Suit Gundam, I don't know if anyone remembers this, but I'm pretty sure Amuro Ray gets his dad killed. Like, I'm not that far into the anime. I think I'm like 14 episodes in. But his dad just gets blown out a fucking hole in a space colony in the first episode. And it's totally Amuro's fault. And Amuro never acknowledges it. No one ever brings up his dad's death. So I'm just wondering if they're just like blowing it off, like whatever, because those were the times.
I've never actually seen the original Mobile Suit Gundam anime. I've seen the original Mobile Suit Gundam movie, which came out in the 80s.
Yeah.
So like I've seen OG Gundam shit, but not the actual anime itself. So I have no idea about that.
Bro, Amuro's a fucking little devil child. I swear, dude. Anyways.
Yes. I really felt a lot of Gurren Lagann vibes at the back half of this 4th OVA, which is funny because Gurren Lagann was essentially a super inspired anime by Evangelion, the original Evangelion, which is like this weird full circle moment.
I think Gurren Lagann did it better.
Really?
The ending? For sure, dude. I think Gurren Lagann's ending, as far as like people that enjoy big brain, like deep animes and stuff, some people it's just not their cup of tea, but dude, Gurren Lagann goes from like 0 to 10 billion real quick.
Oh yeah, just like in the final 2 episodes.
Yeah. Dude, when I saw the jaws open and like the waterfalls emptying out into space, and it was like seeing deep sea oceans where like the water line shifts, but it was in space instead, and it was like all the versions of the ships. Like that was probably some of the coolest shit I've ever seen in anime.
Yeah, definitely. Gurren Lagann is an amazing, underrated anime. I get really angry at the amount of people that call themselves like anime fans that have never even heard of Gurren Lagann.
Yeah.
It's just like, what the fuck are you doing with your life? It's a 26 episode series. Go watch it right now.
And dude, I'm a stickler on animation, and I don't like, if you didn't tell me to watch it. Style. Yeah, but I just don't like that. Like that's why I've never been a huge fan of like Kill la Kill or like Fooly Cooley and stuff. Like they're good there's good stories, but it's just like the animation it's like Wind Waker to me, it's like it's a Zelda game. It's great, but the animation to me is just not my shit, and like it kind of downgrades the anime as a whole to me. But Gurren Lagann was one of those first animes where I was just like, I got over it real fucking quick. Like real quick, because I just realized it was so good.
Dude, the second he said that this is the drill that will pierce the heavens, I was on board 100%. I know, dude. Like I was like, that is all it took. I'm like, all right, I'm in.
This little mole kid's fucking gonna go to space.
Such an epic line, man. I love that line. And I mean, if you want to talk about big Hollywood sunglasses in anime, I mean, Gurren Lagann defines it.
They do. They really do.
Getting back to the Evangelion OVA, though, what did you think about the emphasis on ship battles and much less emphasis on EVA fights? Did that bother you as much as it bothered me?
I mean, it didn't bother me until they like beat it into submission with like the fourth ship showing up. Like that was so low budget and like low hang. It made me really think like who's coming up with the end of the series, because it was just so creatively bankrupt to see 4 versions of the same ship that had no preamble to their existence. There was nothing in episode 3 that said there was 4 ships, so there was no like battle plan or anything. They just kind of made the viewer assume, they're just like, oh yeah, the person that came up with these ships, there's 4 of them, and the way the dialogue was going, like they knew about them, but they weren't planning for them or something. Like I was like, wait a minute, so you knew there were 4 ships, but every time one comes out of nowhere, you're just surprised until like the 4th one comes and just totally foils your plan. Like it just seemed dumb to me, and again, creatively bankrupt. And then also like what each one was good for. And then it was supposed to be like this pivotal moment in the fight was just like, oh, well, that ship only it's all guns and no gas or whatever, and we got ramming speed and acceleration, It just, there were these comments that came off like you were supposed to know or something. Like, you remember when we said this, or remember when these ships were in this other episode or something like that? It just came off weird to me.
Yeah, I agree. I thought it came off weird. And you know what else came off weird? The opening scene, yet again. So we talked about how weird the opening scene of episode 3 was. Episode 4, also weird. It starts off in Paris with this crazy, weird
whirly dirty. My favorite. That was one of my favorite parts of the episode.
Really? I think I would have liked it more if it wasn't the beginning. Because the way
I liked it because it was the only thing close to an angel battle, like a classic angel battle.
Well, let me put it this way. One of the only things I liked about the 3rd OVA was the ending of the 3rd OVA. With so we have this deal where Moon Brother is playing piano with Earth Brother, and they're becoming bromantic and shit.
Call him Japanese Burt Baccarat, okay?
and Moon Brother just convinces him, hey, we can fix everything, bruh. We just gotta pilot this EVA together. We're gonna go down to the bottom of the fucking world, and we're going to steal some spears, and boom, we're good. And he's just totally confident about it. And you're just like, oh, this guy's evil. He's tricking Shinji. This is gonna be good. And then they get down there, and then you realize Moon Brother isn't in on it. He looks at the spears. He's like, oh, these aren't our spears. And he just starts almost crying and saying, no, Shinji, stop, Shinji, stop. And then Shinji goes evil mode and takes the spears anyway. I loved that whole thing. I loved how it ended with them fighting Asuka and fucking, Misato and that whole faction of
it was dope.
That whole thing was fucking sick, and then the way
just
it
being
ended,
down there in the pool, and all of that was super dope.
And then for them to just end it like that, and you're like, oh, this is set up to be great in episode 4, with fucking Rei and Shinji and Asuka just walking in this post-apocalyptic desert, fading to black. You're just like, oh shit just went down. And then the fucking 4th one starts, and it's a weird CG ship battle at the Eiffel Tower. I'm just like, what? It's a cool scene, but it's just jarring. Why can't you have continuity, Anno? Why do you have to fucking start every fucking episode just totally different from where the one previous ended? I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah, it is a weird. It makes you wonder. It really makes you wonder where the guy's head was at with the whole series. Maybe it wasn't him, maybe there was external forces at play. I don't know, but it seems like something no one would choose to do, Yeah.
I really think that scene was just because if you really think about it in context of the entire OVA series, it was a pointless scene. It was cool, but it was pointless.
I think they honestly did it because they knew there was going to be no Eva fights for the next hour.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why they did it.
Yeah, they like give you a little bit of action so you don't get super butthurt about the fucking slice of life shit you're gonna endure. You're probably right about that.
Right into that village, and it was like an hour solid. Because what was the fighting? Was that like 20 minutes, 15 minutes?
Oh, that fucking Paris intro? Nah, that was like 10 minutes.
10 minutes. So that would have been that literally would have been 55 minutes then. Like so, almost a solid hour. So if they left that out, and it could have been potentially even more time in the village. So, God.
Well, I really think he just wanted an excuse to show Eiffel Tower being destroyed. I think that he's anti-French. That's my theory.
Yeah, well, I was not too long ago too, but now that
then you played Onimusha 3, and you're like, you know what?
No. Listen, Jean Reno, I respect. I don't respect the man. Well, now I do, but when you get my point. I'm telling you, dude.
Well, I feel like we're being really critical of this, even though we both like it overall. But I'm going to go into another criticism.
I mean, it's the 4th episode.
Yeah.
That's really what's doing it.
I understand why this is a thing, but the lack of angel fights felt bad. Like, when it comes to Evangelion, you just say Evangelion is giant humanoid-ish robots fighting angels. That's it. When you boil it down completely, that is what Evangelion is. This OVA had none of that, essentially. There were no angels. The angels are all dead. We're at the aftermath. And I get why, from a plot point, it makes sense for it to be like that. So I'm not holding it against the episode too much. But I just want to point out that when you take that vital factor of seeing some crazy polygon monstrosity floating towards the Tokyo 3, it takes a part of like the vital essence that makes you love the anime away.
Yeah.
It's not there.
Yeah. Well, it takes the suspense and the horror away, because when those angels come down, it almost it gives those OVAs just a little bit of like a horror factor.
It does.
Just like the devastation and just the sheer mystery behind what those things are. It gives you those emotions.
Yeah. And each angel is so different, and some, like, they're so crazy. Like, I don't want to talk too much about the older OVAs because that's not what we're reviewing, but I just want to point out one of the angels literally looks like a screensaver from Windows 95.
Yeah.
And that type of originality does not exist anymore in entertainment, and you have to applaud it. Like, you're just looking at it, you're like, what the fuck was going through your head when you designed this angel? But I love it. I fucking love it. And I wanted more of that in the 4th episode, and we just didn't get it.
Yeah. I think you pretty much hit it. I mean, at the end of episode 2, like with Lilith down in the pool, and it just that you can't really move on from that. And the fact that he chose to do something different from that point on out is kind of perplexing to me. Mm-hmm. He's like, were you thinking you could outdo yourself? Like one of the greatest moments in anime history?
Yeah. Yeah, I think overall I really like the OVAs, but I think most Evangelion fans will agree with this. The anime was better story-wise.
It was more continuous. I mean, it was one solid idea.
Yes, and I mean, I wasn't a huge fan of the movies that came after, but that original 26 episodes of anime, it's just legendary. And it's like, when you talk about remaking something that's so legendary, it's sort of what happened with the Disney Star Wars movies. It's just like, they tried to really remake the original trilogy. That's what they tried to do, but they failed so cosmically. It actually makes you appreciate Evangelion more, because their failure is much less. You know what I mean? Like, it's a small failure, not a cataclysmic failure from the depths of hell.
Indeed. Yeah, I still have fond memories of, like, because I barely remember the original series of Evangelion. Was it 1 season or 2 seasons?
1 season, 26 episodes.
Yeah. So just like Cowboy Bebop, one episode One episode more than the golden season of 25 episodes, right? So there's just, again, as got pointed out, there's something there with that ratio.
Yes.
One season, 25, 20-ish episodes. It's like if you tell me that's the plan, I can almost guarantee you it's going to be a success. It'd be like, I'm working on this anime. It's going to be one season. It's going to be 20-ish episodes. I don't need to hear anything else. I know it's going to be brilliant, dude. Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true, man. 1 season, 26 episode animes are all essentially the best animes that exist. Without, like, there are a few exceptions. Like Death Note's a great example. The first 26 episode season of Death Note is a fucking masterpiece. Then they made that fucking abomination second season, which just sullied the reputation of Death Note forever.
It really did.
It's so sad. I think I was like, dude, if you just didn't make that second season, Death Note would be in this elite company with Evangelion, but because you made that second season, you put it in like this like Inuyasha territory where you're like, fuck.
Money, man.
I know, money breaks.
Some people can't walk away. I think it's just harder to walk away from nowadays too. Sometimes I think I'm like, I wonder if Cowboy Bebop would came out now, if he would have folded to pressure and did like a second season, like an immediate follow up, you know? Because back then, you know, like animes were a lot bigger of a risk, and even if it was a huge success, people liked to cool down a little bit and be like, all right, let's hold the horses here. We're not going to immediately just do a Cowboy Bebop season 2 because we were kind of surprised that was successful to begin with, type of thing, you know? But now that's just shit. That idea is out the window. They're just like, fucking pump it out till it just doesn't sell. Yeah. We want 4, 5, 6 seasons.
Yeah, you know, sometimes when I think about Oda, the guy who does One Piece, I kind of just like imagine him like Emperor Palpatine in the Rise of Skywalker, like just held up by tubes like a puppet. I sort of feel like that's what Oda is at this point. Like he just floats down. He's like, you will watch episode 1472 of One Piece.
Is it One Punch? Is it One Punch Man that makes fun of Oda?
Yes,
or am I?
It
yeah.
Is.
Okay.
It
I was gonna
totally
say.
He
just pulls up in his Ferrari.
One Punch Man makes fun of a lot of anime tropes, but he definitely like there was a single episode that was 100% an Oda strike. It was a strike at the heart of Oda, and I loved it.
He's just this rich neighbor that's way more successful than him.
Oh shit! What'd you think about the soundtrack overall? Because I thought it was a pretty big disappointment because the music in the first 2 OVAs was stellar. It was amazing, and then the fourth one, we got like a few good tracks, but then we had these like crazy weird vocal tracks that were hideously bad. Like, remember in the slice of life part, there was this part where like it was like Yoko Ono just like wailing for like 30 minutes or something.
Java in the Village.
Yeah, you're just like, fuck, stop, make it stop. Oh my god, it's so bad.
I rarely do this when I'm watching something, but like I paused when that song started
to make sure,
and I looked at and I went forward and I was like, how much of this is there? And I was like, all right, I'm almost done. Because I was just right about to skip it. If there was like another fucking 15 minutes of it, I was just going to put a bullet in my head and fucking end it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right. I mean, let's jump to the ending here. This ending that you say is not as good as Gurren Lagann's. And I pretty much agree with you. I think it's close, but I agree with you overall. There was some really interesting shit, though, with this ending. I think that the very most interesting part of this entire 4th OVA is the ending, by far. So there's a few reasons why. First of all, the 4th wall breaks were not expected at all. What did you think about that? Those 4th wall breaks at the end?
I mean,
and what I'm specifically talking about is with Shinji in front of the TV showing all of the old Evangelions and talking about how like, oh no, I'm gonna end Evangelion, and like talking to Ray, but also talking to you as the viewer.
Yeah. Well, I kind of kept that like separate from the actual anime. I felt like that was just kind of like a special like outro type thing from the like
Oh no, that's the
creator's
fucking
way.
ending, bruh. That's the ending. So let's talk about
It's like
That's it.
it's the creator's way of like, you know, telling you like he's done with Evangelion type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, wasn't that impressive to me.
Yeah.
I wasn't yeah, I didn't.
You didn't.
It wasn't special to me at all.
It wasn't special to me. It felt really weird and out of place and shocking.
Out of place is probably the key takeaway for me.
Now,
that's why I said it felt separated from the rest of the anime.
Well, what fucking feels even more separated is what happens after that. I thought that was going to be the end. When I was seeing that shit, I'm just like, okay, this is the end. The credits are going to roll as soon as the scene's over. No. Instead, we go to a beach with Shinji, and he's looking out to the ocean, and all of a sudden, it goes black and white. And you see an Eva show up, and out comes Makanami, who is a new character that sort of doesn't get a whole lot of build-up at all, right? Like, it's just like this new character that appeared in the newer OVAs. Wasn't even
Mary. Mary had no build-up. She was just fucking like there all of a sudden.
And that's fine, but like, okay, so like you expect Asuka or Rei to come out of that Eva, right? When it goes all black and white, and you see that it's fucking Makanami, and you're like, what? Like, they don't even really know each other that well. Like, this is a sort of like weird thing to happen, and then so it goes black and white. She comes out, like they reconnect, and then it goes out of black and white, and then it goes into like this real world scene where it shows Shinji as like a businessman with Makanami as his wife. What the fuck? Like, what was this ending? Like, there was absolutely no buildup for Makanami being Shinji's girl. And somehow, that's the ending.
Yeah, there was. I mean, she always... Well, I mean, she's always flirting with him. I mean, there was always sexual tension. Like, Shinji was just a little incel bitch. Yeah, you don't remember
pick up on
even way before, like when they first even in episode 4, like when they put him in that cell initially, before he gets released, when everything goes awry. But when
she's the jailer basically, and she she straight hates him.
No, dude, she's like there laying on the bed, and she was just like, I really liked you. I was gonna fuck you, but you were just a little bitch, And he's like,
wow.
What? You don't remember that?
I don't remember that at all. Holy shit. Maybe I just missed a couple of key seconds here, but when I saw first of all, let's just talk about the black and white part. Was that an artistic choice or was that a financial choice, Broadcaster Nickels? Did they run out of money?
I think it was an artistic choice. I think it was just them trying to be like, "Hey, manga fans, man, check this out. It's black and white." Mm-hmm. Maybe it was a scene that was loosely based on something from the manga. I'm not sure. Again, I don't know any of this stuff, but that's what I imagine. Yeah. When animations go black and white, it's kind of like an homage type thing.
Well, this scene is weird because it reunites Makanami and Shinji as if they were like this destined couple, like Ellie and Faye from Xenogears. Like, if you know the storyline of Xenogears, which, by the way, also heavily inspired by Evangelion, Faye Fong Wong and Ellie are immortal couple. Like, they have been together through time, resurrected, reincarnated several times, and they're always together. Like, they always find their way to each other. That is the story of Xenogears. They essentially, in this 4th OVA, make Makanami Ellie, and they make Shinji Faye. And they're just like, okay, this is what happens at the end. they make it together, and then that's the end of the anime, and you're supposed to like, you know, be like, you have a tear in your eye and be like, oh, they made it to the real world, and now they're gonna get on the train to get to their fucking middle wage job and live a normal life. Yay, it's over, no more Evangelions. I feel like there was absolutely no build up to that at all. I know you're saying like she was trying to fuck him in the prison cell or whatever. I don't remember that. Like, all I know is that she was there when he woke up, and she's like, you're a bad guy and I'm going to be kind of your guard. And like, yeah, that's all I really remember between those two.
Well, that's her introduction, but like, they like, she's always like flirting with him, and pretty much like it's almost like borderline sexual harassment, to be honest.
Wow. I did not pick up on that, man.
But yeah, like when they threw him in the cell in episode 4, you know, because he came back onto the ship, and they wanted to put the DSS choker on him, but instead they were like, just put him in the cell, and I forget what else they say, but nonetheless, when the two girls sitting there before he's like left alone, she's just like laying there on the bed. And she's just back when he's just not talking to anybody, and he's just like, she said, yeah, I totally had the hots for you and would have fucked you pretty much, but you're just a little bitch. And then she like walked out of the room, and he was just like,
well, I remember the scene you're talking about. Obviously, I didn't pick up as much on the sexual energy as you did. Even if all that is there, that's still not enough build up for this ending.
No, it's not at all. But then again, they were kind of like the two most powerful pilots in the end. They kind of did the most, and Mary was kind of shoehorned to be like better than almost everyone else towards the end there. Like, she had like the most compatibility in angel beast mode, or whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. She clearly had the most battle experience. She was the pupil of what's his name, like, so she always had like a backup plan, you know. She was the only character I was positive wasn't gonna die.
So what the hell was that ending exactly, Broadcaster Nickels? Is that a real ending?
Clear case of going longer than you should.
Is that because you kind of said, oh, that's not really the ending, that's just, you know, them doing
what
stuff.
If someone came up into your driveway with a Brinks money truck, okay, and was just like, listen, we don't care what the ending is, we just need 4 episodes, and you say, roger that. Okay. Okay, I'm pretty sure that's what happened.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'll just say that I didn't like it. It felt disjointed. It felt tacked on, and it also felt like a total misfire on the final destination of Shinji. I feel like with Evangelion, there needs to be a very firm final destination for Shinji, and I like the fact that they the whole, like, we're resetting the timelines, and now Evas will never happen, and Shinji will just lead a normal middle-class life in Japan, and, like, ride the train to work and do all that shit. That's all fine and good. But the way that they got there, and the girl that he got there with, I just have a lot of problems with. I would have rather had Rei. I would have rather had Asuka. I would have rather had Misato. I would have rather had. I would have rather had Ritsuko. I would have rather had Mikado. I would have rather had any female character other than Makanami. Man, I don't get it.
Well, technically, if Shinji wasn't an angel in the end, that makes Makanami not really an angel either, which I thought they all were angels technically. But if we're going off of that, and that's the group consensus, that means Asuka and Rei just stopped existing at the end.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what it means, and I don't like it. Like, I really don't. I really feel like Shinji should have. I really feel like Shinji should have ended up with Rei, but like the sister mother vibes kind of makes that impossible without being creepy, and I'm not sure what the answer is, if they're actually related or not. But if you really go with the overall tone of the OVAs, Shinji and Rei, it feels like they should have ended up together. Or Shinji and Asuka. All of the most emotional
I all wanted them.
all of the most emotional moments in this series of OVAs involve Shinji and Rei or Shinji and Asuka. Period. All of the best scenes involve those three characters. So for you to just throw Makanami in out of left field and I don't like it. Get off my lawn. That's my answer to that ending. But
you're not my mom.
Or are you? Are you my mom? I need to know before things escalate.
I don't want to see. Asuka got the eye patch. I was like, I don't know. She's kind of hotter now. I don't know.
Oh, is that a thing for pirate girls? Well, Broadcaster Nickels, as you know, there's always a hit, a miss, or a whiff. What is your hit?
The hit of the episode. Could be the Whirly Durly. The Whirly Durly was pretty cool. I think the hit of the episode was probably the Mary Asuka fight with all the mass-produced Eva clones, like the descent down into the containment zone. That was probably the fight in particular, is what I'm saying. It was probably the hit of the series for me, the episode.
Okay. All right. Well, my hit's similar. Yours is like a specific part of my hit. My hit is the Black Moon Ritual overall. That, I think, is the highlight of this entire OVA episode. The Asuka fight that you're talking about is a part of that. And with her becoming the ninth angel.
Like when, what's her name? Is it Asuka or Mary that's fighting like the two-armed orbs with the fucking knives? That was cool. I forget who was fighting him.
Yeah,
I think it was Mary. Mary.
I forget which.
Asuka was going down further.
Yeah, I forget which, but that whole Black Moon Ritual was the part of the anime where I was glued to it, where I was into it, where I was like, this is Evangelion. Finally, this is the meat that I've been waiting for. That, for me, is the entire OVA episode. If you take the Black Moon Ritual out of this episode and you leave everything else, I'm probably giving this a ghostwriter, to be honest. Like, the Black Moon Ritual does a lot of saving for this OVA episode, and that is why it is my hit.
I'll tell you right now, if that part wasn't in the anime, we wouldn't be reviewing it.
Yeah. Well, that being said,
I would have hit you up on Discord and been like, I stopped 20 minutes in, I saw that it ended at the village, so I'm done.
Well, Broadcaster Nickels, as you know, with every hit there is a miss, and in this OVA there are a few to choose from. What is your miss, Broadcaster Nickels?
I think the miss is pretty clear. I think it stands out for a bold 45 minutes. And it's the whole beginning segment, the village scene. The village scene was absolutely unnecessary, and as I said previously, could have been compressed into the intro credit scene. Like them just walking through the town. It could have been a brief recap of them living the life, and blah, 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 blah. Insecurities, Ray blowing up at the end there. That's where they could have slowed down. They could have slowed down, like, right when Ray gives the cassette player to Shinji for the second time, and then it like gives you the regular pace. It's outside, the credits stop rolling, the intro credits stop rolling, the song, the nice music stops playing, and it gets heavy real quick. That would have been a lot better of an execution. But the fact that they gave us 45 minutes of slice of life, slow, insecurity anime is just, it almost, like I said, it made me pause it and look at how much was left of it. And I just think that's a travesty for Evangelion.
It is.
No one should be pausing Evangelion. So that's clearly the miss.
Yeah. That's a really good miss. There's a few options to choose from here. I would definitely agree with you there. My miss is different. It is essentially the fact that there's only one real angel battle in this OVA episode, and it is with that weird ocean fence. Remember that? So like there's only one. It's basically with the ship, although they do deploy an Eva, but it's like sort of like window dressing, like, yeah, we're to deploy the Eva and blah blah blah, and it's like last 2 seconds and it's over. But do you remember that angel? It's like in the middle of the ocean, and there's just like this weird chain link fence with a face on it.
Oh, yeah.
That was the weakest angel in the entire history of Evangelion. And it was just there to be like, we have an angel battle. It's Evangelion. Deal with it. That's why that was there. And it's transparent bullshit. Shame on you, Anno. That was not an angel battle.
Yeah,
God damn it.
A lack of angel battles, period.
Fuck. You're like, oh, it's an angel. It's a fence in the middle of the ocean.
It's a fence.
What the fuck, man?
This isn't a Final Fantasy, dude. I'm not fighting a wall. Okay.
Dude, Demon Wall is 10 times cooler than that stupid fence.
Don't you shit on Demon Wall.
I'll ride or die with Demon Wall. Fuck that angel fence. That being said, Broadcaster Nickels, as you know, there's a hit and there's a miss, but sometimes, nay, every time, there's also a whiff. What is yours?
Man, what is a whiff for this?
What is a whiff? If not a Matrix,
I would say, I'd say the whiff actually is the lack of Evas. Maybe it's what you're talking about, the lack of angel battles, but I think it's just the absence of the most iconic thing of the whole series. You know, like 01 doesn't show up till the very end, and it's only with a fight against himself, and it kind of is really lackluster because they're both on the same power level, so it's just this, he knows all my moves and I know all his moves type of fight. It just was kind of lame. There was only one real Eva fight, and it wasn't Eva like versus angels or anything. It was just Eva's getting jumped by a bunch of like minion angels, you know, like the orbs with the fucking knives and all the angel particle starfish things flying in their face, and the mass produced Evas that were pretty much just like trash being thrown at them as she's like getting new weapons thrown at her. She's blowing down all the way down to HQ. But there was no like standout moments, you know, like when I think of Evangelion, I think of that iconic moment in episode 1 where the cord falls off, right? And there's no power, and all of a sudden it starts powering up again, and the music starts playing, and fucking it opens its mouth, and it just starts beating the ever-living shit out of that angel.
Hell yeah.
You know, it's just one of those, like, that is Evangelion, you know? Like, and so to see the last episode, it ended, you know, it wasn't a complete travesty, but like the fact that it started with 45 minutes of slice of life and didn't really give you any real iconic moments that you come to love for Eva, just seems like kind of a miss. I think that's the miss, you know. It's not going to ruin it, but at the same time, it's a big fucking mark on it.
Agreed. My whiff is sort of a tribute to one of your biggest pet peeves with anime right now, and it's the CG. But my whiff's very specific with the CG. It's not just the CG in general. My whiff is that the CG in the 2021 Part 4 looks the same as the CG from the 2007 original OVA. If you go back and you watch the first OVA, you look at the CG, then you come back to episode 4 and you look at the CG, there was almost no improvement. Like maybe a 2% improvement at best. It's the same fucking CG. Now that's all well and good, If your fucking OVAs are coming back to back to back, if it like goes 2007, 2009, 2011, 2013, done. You know what I mean? That's fine. But when you're going 14 fucking years, I want to see a little bit of improvement in that CG in 2021 as opposed to 2007. There was basically none. Like, they phoned it in. Now, the original CG they started with was really good. And that's why they made that choice. They're like, yeah, we were good from the beginning. Fuck it. We'll just, milk this bitch till the end, ride till we die.
That makes you wonder how much they were sitting on it, how long they were sitting on it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Makes you kind of wonder if this last episode was actually, like, the majority of it was done a long, long time ago.
Shit, you never know, man. It's possible. That fucking stupid ass ocean fence was CG, and there was better CG in the first episode, like no doubt. Like it's dude, weird. It's a weird one, man. But that's my
episode. The first episode of Evangelion is like Christmas movie material. It has that energy. It has that energy.
It reminds me. It's like, you brought up Cowboy Bebop. The first episode, even Evangelion, to me, is sort of in that same level as the first episode of Cowboy Bebop. Iconic. Just iconic and timeless.
There's so many still images from your youth that come from just that material. Just that little bit of material.
Yeah. Well, Broadcaster Nickels, as you know, here in the Crack Cellar, we use an official, patented cage rating system that you yourself invented, which is why you never fuck it up and you never forget which rank is what. And on that system, Broadcaster Nickels, what would you rate Evangelion 3.0 plus 1.01 Thrice Upon a Time?
I think, man, I just don't want to disrespect it because it is good.
It's a tough one. It's not bad.
I'll give it a con air. I'll give it a con air.
Giving it the con.
I mean, it's just, it almost doesn't get it though. I'll be honest.
It's a borderline, isn't it?
That shit they pull in the beginning and everything else we say really just like, it's quite the burden on the whole fucking thing. It's almost so obvious that you could literally, as someone that's not even paid to do this type of stuff, to like be a director or like do final edits of entertainment, of any type of medium. You could easily just go in there and just be like, yeah, right here, just cut that right off and start right here. And then right there at the end, yeah, just get rid of that. All right, now we're done. Like it would have been so much better, a lot shorter, but dude, there would have been almost nothing to complain about. So,
yeah,
I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. I really hate to do this because I love Evangelion. I love the influence it's had on the anime and video game industries over the course of my life. It has produced my favorite RPG of all time, Xenogears. It has produced one of my favorite animes, Gurren Lagann. It has produced so much originality and so much badassness over the years that I actually feel bad giving it this rating, even though it deserves it. And even though it's not that bad of a rating, I just feel like it's Evangelion, so it should be higher. I'm going to give this a rock, man. It's a high rock. It's a good rock. It's like, a very solid rock, not shale, It's not it doesn't have any water erosion. But it is a rock nonetheless. It's good, but it has a lot of problems. And at times you look at it and you're like, why did you want to do this remake, Anno? Hideaki Anno, tell me, why did you want to do this remake? You did the first two, which are essentially the original anime. They were fucking awesome. You changed a little bit, but for the most part, it was very close to the original. It was fucking sick. And then you're like, but this is leading to me doing a huge difference, and this is where I really wanted to go with this OVA series, so I can show you this alternate timeline. Then you get to the alternate timeline, you have episode 3, which is a dud, and you have episode 4, which is like okay, but at the same time, it's like, there's so many problems, from the lack of angel fights, the lack of Eva fights, the lack of an ending that makes any sense, with all the fourth wall breaking and the sort of masturbatory, like, explaining at the end to be like, this is the director's wishes for you to see this way, is just...
All marks of an inflated ego, by the way.
Yeah, when I really reconcile this OVA in my head, I'm like, it wasn't bad, but it's like, why does it need to exist? This story, this alternate timeline wasn't good enough. It was not good enough to warrant doing a remake of one of the most legendary animes of all time. If you're going to remake, or you're going to do an alternate timeline on something so legendary, you need a good fucking idea of what you're doing and where you're going and why you're going there. And I don't think Anno had that. I think you're right with the Brinks truck analogy. I think they offered him money and he's just like, fuck it, I'll do it. I'll figure something out. And he did, and it was okay. It was good at times. It was great at times, but at times it was not good, and it was sort of pissing on the legacy that he created. And for that, I give him a solid rock. It's not a bad rating, but I feel dirty saying it because, OVA 1, I give a fucking an A or an S. OVA 2, I give a solid S. OVA 3, I'm probably going to give it a C.
Yeah, that was not happening. It almost, 3 was so jarring, it almost made you think you downloaded like a Christmas special episode or something. You're like, wait a minute, what happened? Is this the new episode? Like, are you sure?
It's just so sad for a final chapter to end like this. When you get to the end of a great JRPG, that's almost always the best part, right? When you look at Evangelion, it feels sort of like a JRPG. A lot of animes do. And you always expect the final episode or the final OVA or whatever it is, the final 15 minutes if it's just a movie, you expect that to just be fucking illuminatory, like just fucking badass as shit, like the reason you watched it. And with this, it felt like him sort of like doing damage control of why you watched it.
I think that's kind of what it was. I mean, to be honest, that's why I said it's the hallmarks of an inflated ego, because it's like he knew, he was very aware of the perception of like how this was going to turn out, or maybe even like maybe there's just definitive like evidence, like he saw the backlash online of people talking about like the third episode and stuff, and so he deliberately made that ending up in like this heady fourth wall, I gotta explain things to you so you understand it type of thing. Mm-hmm. It's never a good sign.
It is not. And with that, we will close out.
You ever hear the theory that The Rock is actually the true 7th Sean Connery James Bond? I shit you not.